All right, everybody. As the title suggests, we're leaving. We're going to talk about what happened, why I'm out of here, and what's next. But as for right now, truck is cleared out, cleaned up, empty, just the way I found her. Keys back. So, rental car is packed up. Let's talk about it. All right, it's time to have a conversation. You're probably like, dude, where have you been? Well, real quick before we get started, I'm going to show you where I've been at. The spot. The Jetta looking juicy as shit right now. Whew, not bad for 20 years old. Backyard. This little grass, but back there is about 1.5 acres worth. We're doing all right. Now we got that settled, and you guys know where I've been at. Well, I moved out of Northeast PA, but moved down to South Carolina like I've been talking about on the channel since I don't know how long, a year or two now. Finally got down here. The clip you saw in the beginning of the video is from January, and it is now the end of May. It's like May 30th or something. And I think it's finally time to address this, address where I've been at, and address myself and everything else. So in this video we're going to dig into it, but I want to preface and start by saying that this is not a video that we're going to smear shit around. We're not going to talk badly about somebody else. We're not going to talk badly about a certain company that'll be mentioned in this video quite frequently. It's just a video to be truthful and talk about what happened at the end of my story. As a lot of you know, or probably realize that I'm not there anymore. So we're going to talk about it, and we're going to talk about it with Austin as well. If you remember, he was my very first referral, and I brought him in on the 1-year review video, and I'm going to call him back, and we're going to get him involved in the conversation as well, because like me, he's also no longer at Sweet. And for context, and for you that don't know what I'm referring to, Austin was my very first referral at Sweet. We've been tight-knit ever since, and that was, how long ago? 2021 or so. I got him in as my very first referral, and we, been tight ever since. And, he's no longer at Sweet as well, so we're going to bring him into the conversation, and we're going to discuss what happened and how it ended and what's the future looking like. But I also wanted to add that if it wasn't for the things that we are going to address and discuss in this video, I would still be at Sweet right now. I have nothing bad to say about the company, the people, the equipment, any of it. They're good, hardworking people. They got decent equipment. Even for a smaller company, it was still everything that I wanted and expected it to be. Now, if you think that you're going to find a perfect trucking company, you're sadly mistaken, because it just does not exist. So I did not expect a perfect trucking company, but like I mentioned prior, they gave me a chance. And so I was extremely loyal and had nothing bad to say about them in any of my YouTube content. And that's going to continue within this video, but still I'm going to explain what happened, the changes that happened, and why I'm no longer there. So to begin, as everybody knows, the economy the trucking market, the loads, the brokers, the freight is just not in a good state right now, and it has not been for quite some time. But that goes without saying. I could already tell, I could see the writing on the wall from a mile away that there was going to be changes implemented, and that stuff was going to change, rules were going to change, and things were going to have to get addressed for us to stay afloat, for the company to stay afloat. It's just what comes along with this economy. Everybody's hurting. It's really tough, even for mega carriers, to stay afloat. They either have to like monopolize, buy each other out, or renegotiate their I don't really understand how all that works, but do the best that they can to stay afloat with their customer contracts and kind of stay away from the spot or brokered freight or whatever. And we were no exception. I made a video literally about a year ago, the very beginning of June, end of May, last year, 2023, that I kind of talked about some of the beginning changes that they were implementing, including the no more empty paid miles back to the house, and we're gonna have to pick up another load on Friday and deliver on Monday. And for some of you, that might not be that big of a deal, or that's nothing new to you guys. That was nothing new to me either, but we weren't doing it at Sweet until that point. We would always deliver on like a Friday morning, and then we would just bounce home empty and just be empty on weekend. I mean, we were making, I guess the company saw it fit that we were making enough money that we didn't have to have a load on our back over the weekend. So that was kind of the beginning. And we could see, it didn't take an expert to recognize that things were happening, and in the economy, in the markets, in the freight around us was changing, and that we were in trouble. The company was in trouble. Everybody was in trouble. Everybody was in trouble. And if you're, working for a different company right now and just watching this, you know all about it too. Like, this is no surprise to anyone. But I kind of waited to this point, almost like 6 months later to make this video, because I wanted to let the emotions settle down, and I wanted to have a clear conscience and be thinking clearly and logically, because I'm not going to make a video bashing or talking bad about somebody, and that's not what I'm going to do. Like I said, we're just here to talk about what happened. And there were a lot of different, I say all that to say, but there was a lot of different smaller things that I don't even remember what they were, but they were like just little things that bugged me or annoyed me. It might have been like loads or shitty appointment times, and having to run out of my normal schedule, and just dog shit deliveries in the middle of big cities that you get into a receiver or shipper that big trucks had no business being at. Like, just there's a lot of things, not so much with the company, but just the loads that I was getting that was just becoming overbearing for me. And even as an experienced driver with numerous years of experience, it was still annoying. I was always in the Northeast or New England specifically. I was a regional guy and lived in Pennsylvania at the time, but still, I'm not opposed to going to the Midwest or the South, or the Mid-South, whatever. Doesn't really, and I also understand that we make the most money in the Northeast, and that's why loads pay what they do, because nobody wants to go to those places and do these things. But without getting too far in the weeds here, there were a lot of small things that were kind of just like adding up that were getting me to a point where I was becoming burnt out, and it was just a lot of nonsense. And we were getting ready to move anyway. Like, in the background, like, we were getting ready to move. We were packing, we were loading up, like packing boxes up and shit, and I knew that was coming anyway. So that was actually part of the reason that when it was time to go, like, I was just like, yeah, like, we're moving anyway. Like, it was time. We moved out of Pennsylvania. I left Sweet at end of January 2024. We left Pennsylvania and moved to South Carolina here in March of 24. It was like March, I don't know, the very first week, the very first couple of days. And now it's May, and I'm living off the nest egg. Like, I had set enough money aside for myself that I could, live and, move and pay all my bills and, pay for the house, all that, for a numerous amount of time or numerous amount of months. And still doing that to this day, and I'm gonna kind of get into what's next, a little later in the video. But for right now, I'm talking like there were a lot of things that were kind of going on in the background that kind of was like, okay, maybe, it's time. There was like a straw that broke the horse's back here. And again, like there was a lot of smaller things like the loads and, I don't mean to rant or anything like that. I want to keep it clear, focused video here, but there were just a lot of things that kind of happened with me personally, and Austin will talk about as well, that we just decided it was time. But again, I don't have anything bad to say about the company, about the dispatchers, the management, the equipment, the technicians at Sweet Repair. Nobody. They all busted their balls, for lack of better terms, and they worked hard, especially all the DMs that I have, including Tim, Amber, and Bellman, especially. These guys, bent over backwards to make sure the trucks stayed on the road and that we had good, decent enough loads, and until the very end, it wasn't really a problem for me. I never really, gave too much of a fuck about all that, but I just did what I was told. I was here to drive, and drive I did. And my dispatchers always went to bat for me. I never gave them too much trouble. We were always kosher, and I still talk to them, to this day. Like, we have relationships, outside of work, where we talk about sports and everything else in life and stuff like that. But it wasn't the DMs is what I'm getting at. And I know a lot of trucking companies that you can have, bad relationships with your DM or your fleet manager or whatever. They can make or break you. So again, I'm not here to bash anybody, them, or the company or anything like that. I'm just here to talk about what happened. But with all that being said, the main reason why I left was the regional division was dissolved. It got to a point where the freight was so bad that the company decided to get rid of their regional position, which is what I was under. I lived in Northeast Pennsylvania, and every weekend I would get home on Friday, and then I wouldn't go out till Monday. Now, they did offer you, if you wanted to, you could stay with the company, but only as an OTR driver, whereas you would have to stay out a few weeks, and they would gladly keep you on if you wanted. But for me personally, that wasn't something that I wanted to do. I like more of a balance in my life. I like going home and sitting on my own couch and having an adult beverage and watching a football game and petting my dogs and seeing the girlfriend and all that, where I didn't want to do all that. And it's not that I'm lazy or anything like that. I think it's farthest from that, but I wasn't, in my particular situation with just getting a new house and everything else, I wasn't ready to make that sacrifice. So that's not going to be everybody, though. That was me personally. And I just want to, say that was kind of that was like the biggest reason where I had to go, because it just, if you didn't want to go home like that, you would have to, go TR. So that was that. And there were also other small reasons, like they had to eventually get rid of the 500-mile rule, which was one of the biggest perks and best perks about being at that company. Whereas if you took any load that was under 500 miles, no matter what, you got paid for 500 miles. So that was a pretty sweet perk, and they had to go away with that as well. And some other small things, some changes and implements, and like the rules were being implemented, that it just kind of snowballed to a point where, it just became too much. So again, I don't think I'm being, too harsh. I'm just explaining reality and what happened at that point. And again, I have nothing bad to say about anybody at the company. or the equipment or the management or the dispatchers or anybody, because truthfully, like I said, if it wasn't for these things that I'm talking about, I would still be there. I gave them, a little over 2.5 years, and I would still be there if it wasn't for this stuff that was going on. And I understood it, and I didn't, want to burn a bridge or anything, so I went back to Grand Rapids, got a rental car, and drove my ass home, and that was it. I didn't, ditch the truck or abandon the truck anywhere or anything like that. Like, I had a conversation with most of the people, and explained this to them. They understood. Like, it's nothing new to them. They know it. I mean, they're going to lose good drivers, but it is what it is, man. The economy sucks. The market's terrible. Like, I really hope it turns around. But after I left as well, there were pay cuts. Now, I was already gone at this point, but shortly after, Austin stayed a little bit longer than I did, but there were pay cuts that were put into place. And I'm going to talk about his specifically as an example. He went from 63 cents a mile to 57 cents a mile. Now, that's not super big, but nobody in the right mind wants to go backwards. Nobody wants to make less money doing what they're already doing the same job, the same annoying, aggravating, family time away, sacrificing job that they're already doing for less money. And, that probably drove away a lot of drivers as well. I can only imagine. But that did happen as well. I wasn't there to experience that, so I have nothing, to speak on that personally, but that did happen to whoever was left, Austin being included. And like I said, we're going to get him on the phone and talk briefly about the end of his experience as well. But maybe we'll call him right now. Let's get him on the phone right now. All right, Austin, so we got you, right?
Yeah.
All right, so we got Austin here, my number one referral. I referred to him earlier in the video. We're going to get him on real quick to talk about his ending at Sweet and like what happened with him personally, because he stayed a little bit longer with the company than I did, but he ended up leaving as well, like I mentioned, and now he's with a new trucking company. But we're here to talk about the ending with Sweet. So, Austin, I did already talk about the paid empty miles, the no empty going home, picking up a load and delivering Monday, how they dissolved regional, and then they were like, all right, OTR or you have to quit, and then the pay cuts and how they got rid of the 500-mile rule and all that. But if you want to just, further elaborate on that a little bit here before you got to park and get to Penske and all that, feel free to jump in here.
Yeah, man, the market hit them pretty badly. They're really feeling it. And I mean, every trucking company is, but all the good parts of Sweet have kind of gone away. It's still a good company if you're a SAP driver and you're looking for a second opportunity. But if you have some experience and you're looking for a decent trucking company, I wouldn't necessarily recommend it, because, like he was saying, they did away with all the good things that made Sweet good. And, the 500-mile rule is gone. Regional is gone. So now it's just an OTR company. They had cut our pay pretty significantly, and it's just, I wouldn't recommend it anymore.
Yeah, I kind of told them the same thing, and it's just tough. And although I don't really have anything bad to say about them, the changes that they made kind of pushed us out the door and, kind of made up our mind for us.
Yeah.
It was a good in-between gig. I mean, it wasn't like our forever career, obviously. It's hard to find that, or it's rare to find that in trucking, but, it was a good place to get a good amount of experience in, and, to get friendly with people and to really familiarize yourself with the day-to-day, because the people there, the dispatchers, the management were decent. They took care, they looked after you no matter how busy they were. But, it's tough. And now you have two really good drivers that are out the door, and I don't even know how many are left. Like, it's crazy to think about.
For sure. Yeah, they didn't do us necessarily wrong. They just had to adjust for the market. I think more than other companies that are having to adjust for the market.
And it might have been just because they were a little bit smaller. They were feeling the heat more. I'll be surprised if they don't like get bought out or absorbed in some way or another. Somebody like doesn't buy them out, you know, because they had decent equipment and they had a lot of trailers they just bought, like newer trucks too. Like me and you both had brand new rigs. Like we weren't kicking around in old crusty trucks or nothing.
No, they gave me a truck with 45 miles on it when I got it.
It's brand new, yeah. Yeah, my shit was brand new. I had like 1,000 on it, my 23 or 24 or whatever year it was. Like,
yep.
But all right, man. I don't want to take up too much of your time. I just wanted to, you know, have you jump in here to, you know, further explain and evaluate, you know, what went wrong here. And again, we're not here to badmouth or bash anybody, but we're here to just tell our story and about what happened and the truth about it, so nobody gets it twisted. And we're gonna put it on YouTube, and that'll be that.
All right, thanks, man.
All right, brother. Hey, I'll let you know when I upload this. I'll get this all edited up and uploaded, and I'll send you a copy. But
yeah, if I went too hard, just let me know.
no, it was fine. It was totally fine. Honestly, I expected worse from you, but
Gotta keep it somewhat PG.
yeah, you know, we're not here to burn bridges. We're here to just tell everybody what happened. All right, man.
Thanks.
Hey, you get whatever you got going on. You get that taken care of. We'll catch up with you. This was just for the video, though, so I'll let you go, brother.
Sounds good, man. Wish me luck. Pull in now.
All right, man. We'll talk to you a little later.
All right, peace.
Peace. And there you have it. Keeping it a buck. We're not lying. We're not bashing. We're not doing any of that here. It's just what happened. As far as what's next for me, I got some things going. I didn't really want to go back to truck driving personally, honestly, because I just moved down here to where it's warm and nice all the time, and I kind of wanted to stay like, you know, closer to home or work from home type deal. And I applied for a bunch of different things, and again, the economy just sucks right now, so I don't think that's going to happen or work out fully. But I am looking around, unfortunately, back at other trucking companies. Not that that's a bad thing, but I kind of wanted to see if I could do something else, but that's whatever. We'll get into that a little bit more, you know, once I figure some stuff out and I get some more information. But I kind of got some things in the works right now, and I'll keep you guys updated as far as that is concerned. But with all that being said, that's all I got for this video, guys. If you made it to the end, give me a thumbs up. Drop a like. Let's get this YouTube algorithm. Let's get this up. Let's get, you know, the views up. Let's get everybody, you know, aware of what's going on and what happened to me. And, you know, I was probably one of their biggest advocates, you know, and again, I don't have anything bad to say about the company, but I'm no longer there. So people need to understand and know why, or people are questioning it or just wondering where the fuck I've been at, you know. This will, you know, answer a lot of questions for them. But as far as that's concerned, that's all I got, guys. Thank you so very much for watching. Questions, comments, concerns, drop them in the comments down below, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Peace.